Welcome, esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederacy, to what might be the most important briefing of your careers. Possibly the last briefing some of you will ever need. Commander Vaslik clicked his mandibles together in what passed for a smile among the Vesperi. The faint blue bioluminescent patterns on his exoskeleton pulsing with barely contained amusement. The assembled diplomats, 32 species in total, shifted uncomfortably in their ergonomically designed seats within the gleaming amphitheater of the Confederacy Diplomatic Purse Academy. My name is Commander Traz Vaslik, head of Xena Security for Nexus Station, and I've survived 17 direct encounters with humans, which, as some of my colleagues would happily point out, makes me either extremely lucky or remarkably bad at dying. A nervous titter rippled through the audience. Vaslik's reputation preceded him. The scars on his carapace, most notably the missing section of his lower right arm, were not ceremonial. They were souvenirs from what the official report described as cultural misunderstandings. Today's mandatory session addresses what our bureaucrats call classification anomaly H3. The rest of us just call it the human problem. Vaslik tapped his remaining front limb against the podium control panel. Behind him, a holographic image materialized, a bipedal creature with minimal external protection, no visible natural weapons, and a bizarrely exposed sensory cluster atop its frame. "Behold," Vaslik announced with practiced dramatic flair, "the only known sentient species in our galaxy that is simultaneously classified as an unarmed civilian and a deadly apex predator." Yes, you heard that correctly. He paused, scanning the room with his compound eyes, savoring the confused expressions across multiple species' faces. Both categories. At once, the same creature that our Cultural Exchange Committee invites to diplomatic dinners is also the subject of 3 separate Confederation-wide combat threat assessments. The classification system that has served us for 12 millennia didn't just fail with humans, it had a complete nervous breakdown. Vaslik leaned forward, his voice dropping to a theatrical whisper that nonetheless carried throughout the room. "And your job, distinguished representatives, is to interact with these creatures without becoming a statistic in my next briefing. So pay attention. Your continued existence rather depends on it." Vaslik flicked to the next hologram, displaying a complex chart with branching taxonomies. For those of you new to intergalactic diplomacy, the Confederacy's sentient species classification system has been the backbone of our peaceful coexistence for 12,000 years. Every species fits somewhere in this elegant framework. Well, every species except humans. The chart expanded, revealing dozens of categories and subcategories. We have herbivorous diplomats, carnivorous warriors, omnivorous traders, silicon-based philosophers, gas giant negotiators, hive mind strategists. We even have a classification for the sentient fungal networks of Tau Ceti. But humans? Vaslik laughed, a sound like crackling electricity. Humans broke Archive Administrator Pelzum's brain. The hologram shifted to security footage from 6 standard years earlier. A tall, willowy being with translucent skin and 4 arms frantically manipulated data screens while surrounded by arguing committee members. This is actual footage from what we now call the categorization crisis. Poor Pelzum, who had cataloged 317 species without incident, spent 9 consecutive days trying to force humans into our existing framework. The audience watched as the recorded Pelzum's movements became increasingly agitated, culminating in them throwing all 4 arms up and collapsing into their chair. Pelzum first tried classifying humans as non-threatening omnivorous traders, similar to the Mercantos of Rigel 7. Then a human delegate accidentally crushed a Mercanto's appendage during what they called a friendly handshake. Next classification attempt. The footage jumped forward. Pelzum then tried categorizing them as potential combatants, like the warrior drakids. But unlike drakids, humans possess no natural armor, no venomous secretions, no slashing appendages. They're essentially soft, squishy bags of mostly water. Next classification attempt. Vaslik clicked through several more failed categorization attempts. The committee observed humans exhibiting predatory pattern recognition, persistence hunting psychology, and pack bonding behaviors typical of apex hunters. Yet their diplomats fainted at the ceremonial blood feast of the Karzak delegation. Their warriors wept at poetry readings. Their scientists exhibited both precise calculation and wild intuitive leaps. Vaslik expanded a final document on the display. After the famous Pelzam meltdown, "They're fine now. Just transferred to archive maintenance. The Confederacy created this. The first ever dual classification protocol. Humans are officially categorized as both Class 1 protected non-combat diplomatic entities and Class 5 potential biohazard predatory species. Every human interaction now comes with 17 warning protocols and a mandatory medical team on standby." He clicked his mandibles together in that unsettling smile again. In simple terms, treat them like they're made of explosive glass, while remembering they could probably tear your limbs off without their combat technologies. And they wonder why we're nervous around them. Let's discuss why these protocols exist in the first place, Vaslik continued, bringing up a new hologram displaying an ornate meeting chamber. This is footage from what our historians delicately call the first official interspecies diplomatic incident. I call it the day Ambassador Torvik learned physics the hard way. The footage showed a grand chamber with representatives from 7 different species arranged in a ceremonial circle. A small delegation of humans entered, dressed in formal attire that looked absurdly restrictive. Ambassador Kraz Torvik of the Luminary Collective, Vaslik narrated, highlighting a tall, slender being with luminous, almost transparent skin through which complex circulatory patterns were visible. Brilliant diplomat. Negotiated the Proxima Centauri peace accord. Absolutely terrible at following security briefings. The recording showed Torvik gliding forward, extending their delicate, multi-jointed appendage toward the lead human, a dark-skinned female with a warm expression. Human Ambassador Eliza Blackwood, Vaslik identified, career diplomat, known for her exceptional work mediating territorial disputes on her home planet, about to become infamous throughout the galaxy. The audience watched in collective horror as Blackwood reached out, clasped Torvik's appendage, and gave it a firm shake. The crunching sound was audible, even in the recording. 3 of Torvik's 7 finger joints immediately collapsed. The luminary's bioluminescence flared in pain patterns as they crumpled to the floor. "Computer, freeze and enhance," Vaslik commanded. The image paused and zoomed in on Blackwood's face, showing an expression of absolute horror. Note the human's reaction. This wasn't malice, it was ignorance. Our medical and security analysis confirmed that Ambassador Blackwood used approximately 15% of her available grip strength. What for her species would be considered a gentle greeting transferred enough force to shatter luminary calcium structures. Vaslik brought up biometric data alongside the image. The most disturbing part, Ambassador Blackwood's stress hormones skyrocketed after the incident. Her physiological readings showed genuine shock and distress. She truly had no idea she could cause such damage. The humans simply don't understand how dangerous they are by Confederacy standards. The recording resumed, showing the chaos that followed, medical teams rushing in, security protocols activating, and Blackwood standing in stunned silence, hands pressed against her mouth. Slow motion. Focus on Ambassador Blackwood, Vaslik instructed. The footage zoomed in and slowed down. Watch her eyes. Notice the tears forming. These aren't diplomatic tactics. This is genuine emotional distress. The humans call it empathy. Apparently, they feel discomfort when others are injured. The same species capable of shattering alien physiologies gets upset about it afterward. Vaslik changed the display to a formal document. This incident led to the creation of the Blackwood Protocols, a 43-page manual on physical interaction with humans. It covers everything from proper distance maintenance at least 1.5 galactic standard units to emergency procedures if a human attempts to perform what they call a hug. which our threat assessment team has classified as a potential crushing attack. The commander highlighted key sections of the document. The core principle is simple. Assume every human is completely unaware of their strength relative to your species. They evolved on a high-gravity death world where even their infants can exert enough force to damage most Confederacy species. Their gentle touch can fracture exoskeletons. Their idea of a light tap can rupture gas bladders. And the most dangerous part? They're constantly trying to initiate physical contact as a sign of friendship. Vaslik paused, allowing the implications to sink in. Ironically, Ambassador Blackwood became one of our most valuable consultants on human interaction safety. She insisted on helping develop protocols to prevent future incidents. The Blackwood protocols have reduced physical interaction injuries by 87% in just 5 standard years. Not bad for a species that accidentally breaks people while trying to be friendly. For the next segment, I've invited an expert who can explain why humans are walking contradictions, Vaslik announced, gesturing toward the side entrance of the lecture hall. Please welcome Dr. Liran Nemari, head xenobiologist of the Human Studies Division. A stocky, amphibious being with iridescent scales and large, multifaceted eyes glided into the room. Dr. Nemari's webbed appendages carried several holographic data modules. "Thank you, Commander," Nemari said, voice resonating with a pleasant harmonic quality. "I've spent the last 7 standard years studying human physiology. I still wake up screaming sometimes." This elicited nervous laughter from the audience. "Let's start with basics," Nemari continued, activating a detailed anatomical model of a human. Humans appear fragile. No claws, minimal natural armor, dull teeth, limited sensory capabilities. Yet their evolutionary history reveals something terrifying. They're not specialized predators. They're generalized super survivors. The hologram shifted to comparison charts. Consider this paradox. Humans bruise easily, yet can survive injuries that would kill most sentient species. Their skin tears with minimal force, but they can survive massive blood loss. They have no redundant organs like taurians, no rapid regeneration like selenites, no backup neural systems like Vesperi. Instead, they have something far more disturbing: compensatory adaptation. Dr. Nemari brought up biological readings. This is where it gets alarming. Humans possess a chemical response system triggered by threats, injuries, or even perceived dangers. They call it adrenaline. We call it terrifying biochemical override. The display showed graphs of human performance metrics with and without adrenaline. Under adrenaline influence, humans can increase their strength output by up to 300%. Pain receptors are suppressed. Cardiovascular efficiency spikes. Sensory awareness heightens. Essentially, they become temporarily enhanced versions of themselves. A diplomatic representative from the gelatinous Morphians raised a pseudopod in question. "Yes, you heard correctly," Nemari confirmed before they could speak. "Humans can voluntarily ignore pain signals that would incapacitate most species. They call it pushing through. We call it nightmare physiology." The doctor displayed comparative species metrics. Their grip strength exceeds industrial pincers. Their bite force, while not impressive by predator standards, can still crack the exoskeletons of 40% of Confederacy species. And their endurance. This is perhaps most disturbing of all. Humans don't need to outfight most predators. They simply outlast them. Nemari displayed footage of humans running across vast distances. On their death world, humans evolved as persistence hunters. They pursue prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Many Confederacy species would die attempting to maintain the average human's baseline cardiovascular output. And yet, the doctor paused dramatically. These same beings can be killed by ingesting certain plants, consuming common minerals, or through allergic reactions to microscopic proteins. They're simultaneously incredibly durable and bewilderingly fragile. Commander Vaslik stepped forward. I can personally attest to human resilience. During the Nexus Station pressure failure 3 cycles ago, I witnessed human maintenance technician Jamal Morris survive 17 minutes in near vacuum conditions while repairing the emergency bulkheads. According to everything we know about carbon-based life, he should have died within 2 minutes. Instead, he finished the repairs, passed out, received medical treatment, and returned to duty 3 days later. Vaslik's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what the audience recognized as sincere amazement. When I asked how he survived, Morris just shrugged and said, "You gotta do what you gotta do." This casual disregard for what should have been certain death is, unfortunately, typical human behavior. They don't even recognize how absurdly resilient they are by galactic standards. Dr. Namari nodded solemnly. This combination of durability, adaptability, and complete lack of self-preservation instinct makes humans uniquely dangerous. They don't know when to stop. Sometimes they don't even know when they're injured. And most concerningly, they consider this normal. Physical capabilities are only half the equation, Vaslik continued as Dr. Namari's display shifted to neural mapping models. What truly makes humans unique is their psychological framework. Or as my security team calls it, the predator mindset in diplomat packaging. The holographic display showed comparative brain scans from various species. Most apex predators in the Confederacy, like the Karzak or Drakids, have straightforward threat response patterns. Territory, resources, hierarchy, predictable. Humans? They exhibit predatory cognitive patterns we've never seen combined in a single species. Vaslik highlighted specific neural pathways in the human brain model. The persistence hunting mentality I mentioned earlier isn't just physical, it's psychological. Humans don't give up. Most predators abort a hunt when energy expenditure exceeds potential caloric gain. Humans will continue pursuing goals long past the point of rational return. They call it determination. Our psychological analysts call it disturbing single-mindedness. The display shifted to problem-solving comparison metrics. Unlike specialized hunters, humans are generalized problem solvers. They don't rely on superior strength or speed. They use pattern recognition, tool adaptation, and environmental manipulation. When blocked from a goal, they simply find another approach, then another, then another. They have a saying that perfectly captures this mentality: if the front door is locked, try the windows. Nervous tittering rippled through the audience. Perhaps most unsettling is their tendency to personify everything. Vaslik brought up footage of humans interacting with machines, plants, and inanimate objects. They assign personalities and intentions to non-sentient entities. Their maintenance workers name their tools. Their scientists develop emotional attachments to research equipment. They speak to plants. This behavior seems harmless until you realize its implications. Vaslik paused, letting the tension build. It means humans can develop predatory focus on literally anything they interact with. Unlike rational predators who hunt only appropriate prey, humans can fixate on solving any problem. Whether that's hunting for food, negotiating trade agreements, or figuring out how your technology works. The display switched to footage of human children engaged in various activities. This looks innocent, yes? These are human offspring playing. Note the similarities to combat training. They're practicing chasing, hiding, building, destroying, strategizing, all while developing social bonds with their peer group. They're simultaneously training for both predatory behavior and complex social cooperation. A particularly disturbing clip showed small humans building an elaborate trap using simple materials. This isn't taught behavior. Those children devised that mechanism independently. Now imagine that creativity applied when a human feels threatened. Vaslik's bioluminescence dimmed to a serious blue. The final warning in this section: never back a human into a corner, All predators become dangerous when trapped, but most become predictably aggressive. Humans become unpredictably creative. They will use anything available: objects, environment, knowledge to overcome the threat. And they won't stop until they've succeeded or are physically incapable of continuing. He clicked his mandibles in that unsettling, not quite smile. So if you're wondering whether that friendly human ambassador can transform into a resourceful killing machine, when provoked, the answer is an emphatic yes. The transition can happen faster than most species can register a threat response. And they might apologize afterward, genuinely not understanding why you're so disturbed. Theory is one thing, practical experience is another, Vaslik said, bracing himself against the podium with his remaining limbs. Let's review some notable diplomatic incidents that highlight precisely why these protocols exist. Consider these case studies in what not to do. The holographic display shifted to footage of an ornate garden setting where various diplomats mingled. Nexus Station botanical reception, 3 cycles ago. Ambassador Pollen Song of the Florian Collective is engaged in pleasant conversation with Human Trade Representative Marcus Okonkwo. The footage showed a plant-based being with delicate frond-like appendages conversing with a tall, broad-shouldered human male. The human was smiling, gesturing enthusiastically. Note Representative Okonkwo's animated communication style. Humans consider this friendly engagement. Now watch what happens when he attempts to initiate what humans call a friendly pat on the back. The audience collectively flinched as the human's hand made contact with the Florian's upper foliage structure. The plant being immediately wilted, several fronds detaching completely as it collapsed. Ambassador Pollen Song spent 17 days in intensive botanical restoration. Representative Okonkwo was devastated when informed that what he considered gentle contact had the equivalent force of a small meteor impact on the Florian's cellular structure. Vaslik switched to another clip. This next incident centers on human emotional expressions. Humans use a vocalization called laughter to indicate amusement, camaraderie, and surprisingly, sometimes discomfort. Unfortunately, this sound triggers fight or flight responses in several Confederacy species. The footage showed a diplomatic reception where a human female told what appeared to be a joke. When she and several other humans burst into laughter, 3 Vexillian delegates immediately discharged their defensive ink clouds, but temporarily blinding everyone in a 3-meter radius. The resulting chaos caused diplomatic relations to deteriorate for nearly a full cycle. We now provide specialized audio dampeners to species with sensitivity to human vocalizations. Vaslik's mandibles clicked in grim amusement as he brought up the next clip. And now, the infamous coffee incident at last cycle's Galactic Summit. For those unfamiliar, coffee is a psychoactive stimulant beverage that humans consume in vast quantities. They consider it essential for proper functioning. The footage showed a human delegate accidentally knocking over a container of dark liquid, which splashed onto a gelatinous Morphean diplomat. The Morphean immediately began changing colors rapidly, vibrating, and expanding to twice its normal size. What you're witnessing is the unintentional drugging of Ambassador Glooptrix. The caffeine and various alkaloids in the coffee were absorbed through the Morphean's semi-permeable membrane, resulting in what humans might call one hell of a trip. It took 3 medical technicians to stabilize the ambassador, who afterward described the experience as transcendent and has since requested coffee at every diplomatic function. Several nervous laughs rippled through the audience. If you must attend gatherings where humans will be present, I have compiled these essential survival tips, Vaslik continued, displaying a list. First, maintain minimum safe distance at all times. Second, if a human seems excessively friendly, increase that distance immediately. Third, never accept food or beverage without consulting xenobiological compatibility charts. Fourth, if a human invites you to what they call a party, request security escort. Their recreational gatherings often involve ritualized intoxication that makes them even less predictable. Vaslik's bioluminescence pulsed with what the audience recognized as deep concern. Speaking of human intoxication rituals, these deserve special attention. Humans voluntarily consume substances that impair their judgment, alter their perceptions, and often increase their already dangerous physical capabilities. They call this having a good time. We call it playing chemical roulette with an apex predator. The display showed footage of humans engaged in various celebrations, their behavior becoming increasingly erratic. Note how intoxicated humans become louder, more physically demonstrative, and paradoxically, more insistent about expressing affection toward others. Their inhibitions regarding physical contact decrease precisely as their ability to control their strength deteriorates. This combination has resulted in more diplomatic incidents than all other causes combined. Vaslik's tone became deadly serious. If you encounter humans engaged in intoxication rituals, contact security immediately. Do not attempt to join the fun. Several diplomats have learned this lesson the hard way. Ambassador Zrel of the Sepharan Dominion still can't look at fermented grain products without his chromatophores displaying trauma patterns. As we conclude this briefing, Vaslik said, straightening his posture, let me summarize the essential safety protocols for human interaction. Your continued existence may depend on remembering them. The display showed a concise list of guidelines. 1. Maintain physical distance, unless specifically trained in human safe contact procedures. 2. Never make sudden movements that could be interpreted as threats. 3. Be aware that humans consider sustained eye contact both a sign of respect and a potential challenge, depending on context. 4. Always clarify linguistic ambiguities. Humans use extensive metaphors that don't translate well. 5. Remember that, despite appearances, you are dealing with apex predators who genuinely believe they're being gentle. Vaslik highlighted an additional section on the display. Understanding human emotional cues is perhaps your most valuable survival skill. Unlike most sentient species, humans broadcast their emotional states through facial micro-expressions. Our database contains over 3,000 documented human expressions. But you need only recognize these critical warning signs. The display showed close-up images of human faces. Bared teeth without crinkled eyes indicates aggression, not friendship. Narrowed eyes and flared nostrils suggest imminent physical response. Reddening facial skin indicates either emotional distress or physical exertion, both potentially dangerous. And perhaps most important, when a human goes completely still and quiet after previous animation, evacuate the area immediately. Vaslik moved from behind the podium, his bioluminescent patterns shifting to a more serious configuration. Despite everything I've covered today, I want to emphasize that humans make exceptional allies. Their predatory persistence, when directed toward mutual goals, is unmatched in the Confederacy. Their problem-solving abilities have resolved conflicts we considered intractable. Their bizarre tendency to empathize, even with alien species, creates diplomatic opportunities impossible with other predator species. He clicked his mandibles in that unsettling, not quite smile. In my 40 cycles of security work, I found humans to be simultaneously the most dangerous and most cooperative species we've encountered. They'll risk their lives to save creatures they met mere minutes ago, then accidentally injure them while celebrating the rescue. They're walking contradictions, and somehow that makes them perfect diplomats for our chaotic galaxy. Vaslik paused, surveying the room. Your survival odds when dealing with humans are approximately 94.3%, which are actually the best statistics for any apex predator encounter in Confederacy records. Just remember, if a human wants to kill you, you'll probably be dead before you realize there's a threat. If a human injures you accidentally, they'll feel worse about it than you do. His bioluminescence pulsed with what seemed like mischievous anticipation. Now, for the practical portion of our briefing, I'd like to introduce a special guest who will demonstrate proper cross-species greeting protocols. Please welcome human diplomatic liaison Parker Mbeki. From the back of the lecture hall, a seat that had appeared empty throughout the presentation suddenly moved. A figure stood up, a medium-height human with dark skin and a warm smile. The diplomatic representatives nearest to the human recoiled in shock, several activating defensive measures. "Don't panic," Vaslik said, clearly enjoying the chaos. "Liaison Mbeki has been here the entire time, observing our briefing. Consider this your first lesson in human unpredictability. They can be remarkably stealthy when they choose to be." The human raised both hands in what the briefing had described as a non-threatening gesture and spoke in a surprisingly melodious voice. "Thank you, Commander Vaslik, for that interesting introduction to my species. I promise I'm not nearly as dangerous as he suggests. At least not today." The human's mouth curved into what the briefing had identified as a smile with humorous intent. The lecture hall erupted in a cacophony of translated exclamations, alarm signals, and nervous defensive displays as the diplomats realized a member of the galaxy's most confounding predator species had been sitting among them all along.